How to save costs, how to save money when using IT software. Well, information in web pages can be shared with anyone via a browser, so it's free and a great way to get information quickly out to a wide audience. Using free open source software such as Firefox and Chrome are examples of web browsers that are free. Your operating system, which sits on your computer and manages your computer hardware and software. We call it Windows, but there are other operating systems out there as well as Windows. Windows costs money, but something like Linux doesn't. So look for free operating systems. Proprietary software is software that costs money. So something like Microsoft Office that contains Word, PowerPoint, Excel and Publisher are very expensive. They cost money. They're proprietary software, and that's why Bill Gates, who owns Microsoft, is one of the richest people in the world. It makes it impossible to access the information without buying Microsoft Office and Microsoft Windows as the operating system. Another example is CorelDRAW, and quite often information held in there can't be then opened up in another piece of software. Something like portable apps is a good way of maybe avoiding costs. So a portable app can be run from a USB stick legally without having to install anything on the computer or pay any money at all. And the software is portable, so you just plug it into your computer and run it from your USB stick. It's very quick and secure, much more convenient. Of course, it's free. So the opposite of proprietary software that costs money is something called open source software, which doesn't cost any money at all, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Content management systems are where you can have online website builders, something like Wix.com, which is completely free and is online and allows you to build a website. It uses templates, so it asks you what sort of layout you'd like, and then you can add, delete and modify text, change backgrounds and so forth just through a web browser, and that's completely free. Some acronyms. So CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. That's a piece of hardware within your computer that processes computer data. GPU is something called a Graphics Processing Unit, and that's in a computer. It's also in a games console. It speeds up the drawing or the rendering of images in a computer game by providing a little bit more processing power and moving the processing away from the central CPU. So it's almost like another CPU to allow extra processing, especially for games that have got lots of graphics that need redrawing quickly. Virtual reality is a headset that mimics and spoofs the world around us as we move. Internet protocol is a number, and it identifies you on the network. So say, for example, if you want to go onto a website and that information then has got to be sent back to you from a web server, it identifies you on a network, and it's 4 numbers, usually separated by dots. So 4 decimal numbers identifies you on the network, and it's called an internet protocol or an IP address. VPN. A VPN is something called a virtual private network. It's good if you work in, say, for example, in a bank and you want information to be secretly shared, so you can't hack into it. It's good for security. However, it allows other people, maybe with more malicious intent, to keep things secret, such as illegal downloads of copyright material or criminal activity on something called the dark web that uses a VPN, a virtual private network, which can't be viewed by people through normal internet browsers. VoIP stands for Voice over Internet Protocol, and it's basically internet phone calls. So using your internet line rather than your telephone line to make phone calls. Coding. So there's a limited number of questions on coding. A hashtag means it's a comment in a piece of code, so it's not actually run. It just allows you to write something to remind you what that line of code does. If you see something like 2005-03-16, it might be a year, month, day. So look out for sort of numbers that are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers long and might have something like 2005 or 2009 or 2016 at the start, and might then possibly a month, 03 for March and 16 for the day of the month. Drop in a piece of code means to delete data, add means to replace the data and add some data in. PHP is a programming language used in website design. So quite often it's used for social media. It's where a database will collect information that you type into a web browser. So if you're using Google Chrome or Internet Explorer and you're on Facebook or Instagram and you type a message in, then the PHP program on a web server will collect that information when you submit it or post it, store it on the database, and then push it back out again and change the web page so that that post then appears on the web page. Smartphones in schools, this is controversial. Should they be allowed? Should they not? So there's some advantages in that you could use them for internet research. You could make audio or video files on them to enhance your work, make your work better, your IT work better. Maybe you could use apps on your phone, educational apps, and maybe you could actually do some work on your phone and submit it online as you complete it straight to your teacher or email it across. One disadvantage is that phones might be a distraction. You might tend to go off the work that you're supposed to be doing and go on to something else, such as playing games. You could have health and safety issues. It's a small screen, so you could get eye strain, say, for example. Or if you don't hold it properly, maybe you get sort of you get glare from the sunlight, or maybe you don't look at it properly and you get sort of neck strain or so forth. You might own one, so it might be fine if you own one, but what if you don't own one? It can run out of battery, and also your screen can flicker, and that can cause health and safety issues unless you drop down your screen brightness. That helps to combat screen flickering. Cloud computing. What cloud computing is when you store something and click save, it doesn't save to a server, a computer in your school, it's saved to somewhere else. So say, for example, when you post a Facebook message, it actually saves to a computer in Los Angeles on the other side of America and then sends that information back when it's posted back to you on a web page. On the Facebook webpage, same for Instagram and any kind of social media. So cloud computing is about saving information to a remote web server that could be anywhere in the world. Examples of software that do that are Google Apps, Google Docs, Microsoft Office 365 or Dropbox. And what they're good for is it allows more than one person at once to access those files and work on them at the same time. Wikis work in the same way. And you can do that freely through a web browser. All those applications are free through a web browser. So it saves on software licenses and servers, so you don't need as many computers in your school. You can use a range of devices to access cloud-based software. Saves a lot of money, and also technicians, you don't need as many technicians on site supporting servers and the like. You're paying for less hardware and paying for less maintenance because everything's cloud-based and managed for you. It's updated and improved, so software will be updated remotely through the cloud, so you don't have to do that on site. That will be done for you. And you can access applications through any internet device, anything that's got internet. So say, for example, Moodle is an educational platform, allows parents and students to access information, educational information anytime they want to via any device, and also allows the likes of parents to control and see what's happening in schools, such as see what their child is eating online. Non-cloud solutions, so you need servers, so you need to purchase things. These are called direct costs, where you need to go out and buy something physically. And also there's the cost of maintaining, upgrading, putting antivirus and staff training. Those are called indirect costs, which you'll have to do along the way. So you might actually have to go out and buy things, but you might have to maintain things along the way. Disadvantage of cloud-based computing then. So you need a reliable internet connection. You might even need a spare internet connection in a school. So if the first internet connection fails, then you need a second one. That can be expensive. The system can also be hacked, and schools don't monitor the system, so there'd be a paid-for service where another company would provide that service, that online software and that online storage. Editing video can be difficult with cloud computing. It can be generally very slow because you're editing video over a server, so the video files are held remotely on another computer and you're accessing those over the internet. And changing to a cloud solution, any new software is expensive because you need to do some staff training and some student training as well. So training can be expensive. Also, if you change over to a cloud-based computing system, you've also got to be aware that other systems might be on your school computer networks, such as digital CCTV, burglar alarms, backing up system, security locks with fobs and things, so security fobs are all on your computer network. So you've got to make sure they work before you move over to a cloud-based computing system. And sometimes it's difficult just changing over to new software. Maybe people are all used to the old software brand. So say, for example, if I said to you, you're going to move from Facebook to Instagram, would you say, no, well, I know Facebook well. It's a known brand and I know it well. I'm not going to move over to Instagram and get rid of my Facebook account. So that's an issue. Something called lock-in is that if you buy a cloud-based system or a system off a provider, then in the future, further down the line, if you've set all of that up, it becomes very difficult to change to an alternate supplier because you've got that system set up, and how then do you move everything across? And so if you're locked into that contract, then they can demand higher prices going forward, and you can't then change to a cheaper option.